Artificial gravity has long been the stuff of sci-fi. Picture the wheel-shaped ships from films like 2001: A Space Odyssey and even The Martian. Imaginary craft that generated their own gravity by spinning around in space. Now, a team from CU Boulder is working to make those out-there technologies finally a reality. The researchers can't mimic those Hollywood creations yet, but they are imagining new ways to design revolving systems that might fit within a room of future space stations and even moon bases. Astronauts could crawl into these rooms for just a few hours a day to get their daily doses of gravity. Think kind of spa treatments, but for the effects of weightlessness. The group hopes that its work will one day help keep astronauts healthy as they venture into space, allowing humans to travel farther from Earth than ever before and stay away even longer. But first, the team will need to solve a problem that has plagued proponents of artificial gravity for years. We're talking about motion sickness. Astronauts experience bone loss, muscle loss, cardiovascular deconditioning, and more in space. Today, there are a series of piecemeal-like countermeasures to overcome these issues, but really artificial gravity is great because it can overcome all of them at once. The engineer lies down on a metal platform that looks like a hospital gurney, part of a machine that they call a short-radius centrifuge. After a quick countdown, the platform begins to rotate around the room, first slowly and then faster and faster. An undergraduate student studying aerospace engineering and research assistant in the lab watches the progress from a computer monitor in the next room. "You're coming on 15 rotations per minute now," he announces over a microphone. The engineer, however, doesn't seem to mind. In fact, he says it's fun. It's also the closest that scientists on Earth can get to how artificial gravity in space might actually work. The angular velocity generated by the centrifuge pushes their feet towards the base of the platform, almost as if you were standing under your own weight. But there's a problem with this kind of gravity. One that's familiar to anyone who has visited an amusement park. If the engineer turned his head to either side while spinning, he would experience a sensation known as cross-coupled illusion. It's a disruption of the inner ear that makes you feel like you're tumbling. It's a very strange sensation, so strange that for decades, engineers considered that kind of motion sickness a deal breaker for artificial gravity. Researchers, however, had other ideas. In a series of recent studies, the team set out to investigate whether queasiness is really the price of admission for artificial gravity. In other words, could astronauts train their bodies to tolerate the strain that comes from being spun around in circles like hamsters in a wheel? The team began recruiting a group of volunteers and tested them on the centrifuge across 10 sessions. But unlike earlier studies, the CU Boulder researchers took things incredibly slow. They first spun their subjects at just one rotation per minute and only increased the speed once each recruit was no longer experiencing the cross-coupled illusion. The personalized approach worked. By the end of the 10th session, the study subjects were all spinning comfortably without feeling any illusion at an average speed of about 17 rotations per minute. That's much faster than any previous research had been able to achieve. The group reported its results in June. The researchers say that the study makes a strong case that artificial gravity could be a realistic option for the future of space travel. The researchers also bumped up the number of training sessions to 50, finding that people could even spin faster with more time on the machine. But they also have a lot more questions to answer before you might see any type of artificial gravity room perched on top of the ISS. How long do the effects of training last? And how much gravity would an astronaut need to offset the loss of muscle and bone? Well, the hope is that the research will begin to convince scientists that artificial gravity isn't just for summer blockbusters. I'm excited about this one. The space advocacy organization, the Planetary Society, recently confirmed that its LightSail 2 spacecraft has sent its first signals from space. The roughly 11-pound CubeSat is designed to prove that solar sailing is a feasible way of keeping satellites moving. Fuel is a costly and heavy commodity, and if LightSail 2 can prove that the solar-powered technique works well, perhaps future missions into the deep reaches of the solar system and beyond can be propelled by photons. The project launched in space June 25th from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida aboard a SpaceX Falcon Heavy mega rocket. On Tuesday, July 2nd, the bread loaf-sized LightSail 2 experiment left Prox 1, its carrier vehicle. LightSail 2 will ultimately open its ultra-thin 4-panel sail to achieve a surface area about the size of a boxing ring. But before that can happen, the Planetary Society team needed confirmation that the spacecraft itself was healthy. That message came not too long ago as the spacecraft was passing over the satellite's mission control at California Polytechnic State University. The signals came from LightSail 2's recently deployed radio antenna, which began transmitting status data and a call sign in the form of Morse code, according to LightSail 2 officials. Once the CubeSat deploys its solar sail, the rays from the sun will give LightSail 2 a gentle push, at least hopefully. The goal is to observe LightSail 2 over the course of a month to see if it shifts in its orbit by a measurable amount. That will help demonstrate that solar sailing is an effective satellite propulsion technique. LightSail 2 isn't the first craft to do such work. For example, Japan's Icarus probe demonstrated solar sailing in interplanetary space back in 2010.